up? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a new video. So I'm actually on my way to a shop called RT Tuning. They're out in PA. It's about an hour or so drive. I'm on my way to go get my Iag V3 Street AOS installed, as well as the Get a Dom cylinder 4 cooling mod. Now this video is, obviously a lot of people were looking for me to do an install video on it, but these two mods are just a couple of those things that, not that I didn't feel comfortable with it, but I'd rather a professional do it. People that have done it multiple times and know what they're doing and know kind of the ins and outs and all that. My time has just been so limited lately as well that I was just like, you know what, I'd rather just go, get it done in a couple hours and be done with them. And plus I'll know they're installed correctly, and I won't have to worry about it. I'll sleep better at night. So I'm handing in my man card and I'm getting these installed by a shop. Not everybody is mechanically inclined, or they feel comfortable installing these modifications, and they really don't know how much it costs to actually get these done by a shop. Now this is going to be very subjective, for where you are, where you live, what shop you go to, what they charge per hour and all that. So, it's not going to be exact, but it's going to give you a rough idea of what it costs. So I'm going to lay it out there. I'm going to show you the invoice, exactly what it costs for me to get it installed, just so you guys have an idea. I feel like that would be helpful. Doing an AOS is a pretty intimidating install, so I feel like this will help a lot of people get a better understanding, of what it costs to get these things installed. Now, RT Tuning is a very reputable and popular shop out in PA, so I'm really looking forward to getting into their shop and getting work done by them. They have a really nice facility. I'm not really sure how much footage I'm actually going to be able to get, just because of COVID, restrictions and all that stuff. I'm not really sure if they're going to allow me in, but I'll try my best. So let's head up there, and I'll catch back up with you in a little bit. Alright guys, so we are back in the garage. Obviously, we kind of jumped ahead multiple hours. So I wasn't able to get any footage actually at the shop. Obviously, I wasn't able to get any footage of them installing it, just because of COVID restrictions. They weren't even allowing anybody in the waiting room, which was totally acceptable. I understood that. Luckily, there was a place right down the road. There was a kind of like a little mall deli area that kind of just hung out in. I was able to get some breakfast and lunch and all that and just kind of hang out. And thankfully, it was around almost 60 degrees today, so it was really comfortable. It wasn't cold or anything like that, so I kind of got really lucky with that. But first, before we go into the actual install and the cost of all this, I wanted to go over why it's important to actually install an AOS of some sort, as well as the cylinder 4 cooling mod. So let's go over the AOS. Why is it important? What does it do? Why should you get one? Do I have to get one? With the EJ motor especially, obviously with most turbo cars, there's a thing called blow-by. What that is just excess oil getting basically shot into places that it's not supposed to go. So with blow-by, you can get it into your intake, you can get it into your intercooler, and you can get it into your turbo, which is not a good thing. You want the oil to stay in the motor, and basically that's it. And what an AOS actually is, AOS stands for air oil separator. So it basically separates that blow-by and puts it right back into the motor. So any blow-by that could happen from the intake, intercooler, or getting into the turbo, it takes that oil and brings it right back into the motor. So you'll have a less chance of actually starving your motor of oil. You have a less chance of actually burning through oil. So it's something that I definitely recommend. The also really nice thing as well is this AOS specifically. There's a difference between catch can and AOS, which I can go over quickly as well. The Iag AOS, one of the more popular ones that most people are, that they know, that actually has coolant lines ran to it. Why does it have coolant lines? Well, what that actually does is it actually heats up the oil back to operating temp. There's some AOSs out there, more specifically older ones. They don't have a coolant line ran to the actual AOS. So what that does is actually, all that excess oil that's blowing out, it's actually just staying, it's getting cold and then it's getting back into the motor. And you're mixing hot and cold oil, and it's not a good thing. So having a coolant line ran to the actual AOS, what that does, it actually heats the excess oil or the blow by back up to operating temp, puts it right back in. So it's, leaving and entering the same temperature, and it keeps the engine happy. So that is something really important, something that I suggest you get in any type of AOS. I obviously am going to recommend the IAG, but there are other ones out there that do very similar things. Now, what is the difference between a catch can and an AOS? Well, an AOS is literally, what I just explained. It brings it back into the motor. It heats it back up with the coolant line ran to it. A catch can is literally that. It literally just catches the excess blow by. It's something that you have to monitor. It's something that you have to keep an eye on. If you track the car after each session or each event, you have to go and check the actual can, see if it's full. If it's full, you're gonna have to empty it and everything. So it requires more maintenance. It's not really ideal for a street driven car. For me, at least, I just want to install this and be done with it, not even have to think about it or anything like that. Kind of just let it do its own thing, set it and forget it type motto. A catch can, yeah, I mean, it does work, but it just requires more maintenance. It's a little bit easier install. There's less lines and everything, but personally, I'd rather do the extra work to have something like this installed. Now for the Iag V3 Street Series, I got this on sale for $380, I think. It was during Black Friday, so I got a good deal on it. But typically they're around $420. Yeah, I mean, it seems kind of expensive, but honestly, would you rather spend $400 or have to rebuild your motor? It's kind of one of those things that it seems expensive at the time while doing it, or at least buying it. But I promise you, your wallet, your wife, your girlfriend, whoever will thank you later for spending this kind of money as opposed to doing a full rebuild of the motor. Now, the second thing that I got installed today was the Get a Dom Cylinder 4 cooling mod. It's basically just a tube. I showed it in other videos. I'll throw a picture up for you guys so you can get an idea what I'm talking about. It's literally just a hose with the fitting at the end of it that screws into the cylinder 4 block area. So basically, we all know that cylinder 4, which is back here, it is known and prone to overheating and causing engine failure. That is usually one, cylinder 3 and 4, more specifically 4, that usually tends to go first if something were to go wrong, just because there's a lot of heat in this corner. For whatever reason, Subaru and when they were making the EJ, they didn't properly cool that area. So what this actually does is just reroute some coolant into the cylinder 4 area and into the block, and it cools it down. So what that does is means lower temperature in cylinder 4. It stays much happier, and you have a much happier motor. Super, super reasonable. It's around $80 just for, I mean, it seems expensive for what it is, but honestly, $80 to, for a mod that can possibly prevent engine failure, 100% recommend it. Now, one other thing that I got done to the car, which I'll go over as well in terms of pricing if anybody's interested, I got the entire clutch bled. Now, if you guys know, I installed the pair and pitch stop as well as the pair and pitch stop mount, and the mount comes with a stainless steel clutch line. I spent hours and hours, even got my wife out here to help bleed this whole entire system. It was just, I didn't want to deal with it anymore. So it was one of those things. I knew I was going to the shop to get the AOS and the cylinder 4 cooling mod installed. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have the shop do it. They'll do it properly and I won't have to worry about it. So I got that done and holy crap, the clutch feels fantastic. Honestly, I think there was air in the system prior to even doing the stainless line. Honestly, it feels completely different. I literally have to change my driving style. There is no give in the clutch pedal at all. It's just, it feels so good. Now, I don't know if that is solely because of the stainless line, with less flex and it's just, less line to actually go through, or it was because of the bleed. I'm sure it was the combination of the two, but holy crap. I'm really trying my best not to over exaggerate it, but it feels so good. The clutch pedal feel, it just feels firm. There's probably about 1 inch or 2 inches or so of play before you felt the pressure of the clutch. Now it's literally as soon as you start to push it, it's just pressure. It feels so good. I can't obviously show you on camera, but it feels amazing. I think I was more shocked about that than anything. I wasn't really expecting it. There was actually a giant air bubble in the clutch slave or the clutch housing. I forget where it was. I mean, that's kind of the same thing, but it was in an area where I wasn't able to get to. So basically what he did was he pulled the whole entire clutch housing out, and he bench bled the system. Now I was thinking of doing that, but I honestly didn't feel like it after spending hours trying to bleed the system. But sure enough, it did the trick, and Jesus, it feels amazing. So super happy I got that done. I'll go over the pricing of that just if anybody's interested. But let's get to the actual, details and install of the AOS and the cylinder 4 cooling mod. Really hard to see, but there it is. The Iag V3 Street Series AOS installed. I got black because I wanted to, exactly that. You can hardly see it. It's blending in. It is a beautiful piece, but I really didn't want a bright red, things sitting in the back. I wouldn't have minded if I got red, but for me, I'm a little bit more subtle. I don't like things to really stand out too much, at least. Plus, I got the white, the white accents going in the engine bay. And I feel like the red would have been, I don't know, too distracting or would have been too much. So either way, it's just a color, but I just decided to go with black. Now, if you see, it's super clean. They zip tied everything. It's just a super clean install. I am so happy with how they did everything. Honestly, just these two lines right here are the only things that you see. You can kind of see some lines in the back that run behind the intercooler. They got the heat shielding or covers on there. Honestly, if I didn't know that it was installed, I don't think I would have even noticed. Obviously that whole area is filled up, but these are the only two lines that you see. Everything else is ran behind the intercooler, underneath. There's one line coming from behind the intercooler over to here, but you can't even see it. Plus there's like a snake of hoses and lines and everything over here, so it would be hard to tell. But honestly, it is so well done, super happy. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted a professional to do it, just because I don't think I could have installed it this cleanly. Look, everything is ran, underneath, and I'm so in love with how they installed all this. It's just really, really clean. Like I said, you can't even tell it's there. Obviously, if you noticed over here, you don't have to use these anymore. These get removed from the car. So these normally go in front of the intercooler here, which you've seen me do in a video before, but these get removed because of those hoses that actually take this place, I believe. Well, one of the hoses is, and I believe the back one takes place of this as well. So you get to eliminate this, which is not the prettiest looking thing, but that is also a nice thing. If you do upgrade your top mount intercooler, that will be done away with as well. It's just one less thing to worry about. The one thing I will say, since I'm running the Intertech Fabrications guard, you just have to be really careful right here. This is pretty sharp, and this is a coolant line. So you just want to make sure that there's clearance here, which kind of hard to tell, but there is plenty of clearance. I actually moved the guard back a little bit because I noticed it was touching. It's just one of those things, obviously the motor vibrates and moves. So I didn't want over time that edge right here to poke into it and possibly cause an issue. But otherwise it was super simple. I just loosened the little screws bit there and I slid it back a little bit, and plenty of clearance. So no issues there. Now the cylinder 4 cooling mod, I don't think I'll be able to even show you. To be honest, I spent a solid 10 to 15 minutes trying to find it. But it's down in there. It's in the back here. It's really hard to see. You'll be able to see it if you go under the car, or if it was on a lift or something and you took the splash guard off, but it's down there. Again, I showed you the picture earlier in the video of what it looked like. It's literally just like a hose like this, and it just has a threaded fitting at the end of it that screws right into the block. So there's really nothing to show there, but it is installed, and yeah, I'm really happy that's done. All right, so here we go. So these are the parts that I bought from them because I supplied the AOS as well as the cylinder 4 cooling mod. Honestly, I probably should have bought those parts from them as well. It would have been a little bit cheaper, but like I said, I bought this stuff, from different vendors. I also bought the AOS from on Black Friday, so I did get it a little cheaper. But obviously they have a liability. If you bring your parts as opposed to them installing them on your car that they bought. So that's the reason why. But otherwise, these are the parts that they had to use. They needed a worm gear hose clamp, some coolant because you're doing the cylinder 4 cooling mod and you lose some coolant, and they refilled some brake fluid as well. They use Motul, which is a huge thumbs up. That's the go-to and a really good quality brake fluid. I actually use ATE 200, but Motul is the other one that I was going to use. brake cleaner and some shop supplies or something like that. So I think it was, I'll show you in a little bit, but I think it was around 75 bucks worth of parts that they needed. But here we go. Here's a labor. To install the Iag AOS was $387.50. They, obviously made some notes and everything of what they did, which was really nice. They also installed the Get a Dom cylinder for cooling mod, which was $116.25. And they also bled the clutch, like I said here, which was 62 bucks. That was kind of an add-on. That was not something that I really was, planning, or I initially asked them to quote me for. It was one of those things I was like, you know what, I'm there. Hey guys, can you do this for me while you have the intercooler off and everything? And sure enough, 62 bucks, whatever. The clutch feels fantastic, more than reasonable. So if you notice here, there's a PayPal fee. I put a deposit. You have to put a $50 deposit down to get your appointment. So, there's some fees there, hazardous material, whatever. So all in all, the labor was $566.25. The parts, like I said, was 75 bucks. Sublet and the hazmat, an extra 30 bucks or so. But all in all, $710.34. That's with the AOS installed. That is with the clutch bleed as well as the cylinder for cooling mod installed, plus all the other little parts that they needed as well. So they originally quoted me $545, and they had to add 67 bucks to it. Just because of the clutch line bleed, as well as a few extra parts and stuff that they needed. So, I mean, hey, if you are going to get bent out of shape about that, or say, I could have installed it cheaper, or I know a shop that does this or that, yeah, I get it. It's expensive. To me, it was 100% worth it. Knowing that everything is installed correctly, knowing that if something were to go wrong, I could just be like, hey guys, what's up? Something's happening. Can you guys fix it? And I would just bring it to them and they would fix it. Just having that reassurance under my belt is, worth it to me. And also my time. I'm a busy guy. I work a full-time job. I'm a husband. I'm a father, soon to be 3 kids. So, the time that I necessarily don't have is really precious to me. And while I do love spending my time in the garage here, sometimes, it's nice to just get something installed and not have to worry about it. I do enjoy installing modifications on my car, but sometimes to me, it's worth it. And I've done it in the past where I wasn't 100% comfortable, or I just didn't have the time to do something, and I took it to a shop and I was able to get whatever I wanted installed and be done with it and kind of move on my way. So honestly, the drive home, I was going to get some clips and everything, but I was literally smiling ear to ear. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was placebo. I don't know I don't know what it was. The weather was really nice, but I was enjoying the drive so much, and it was basically all highway driving. It wasn't, I wasn't going out on back roads or anything like that. I was just cruising, 75, 80, whatever on the highway. And the car just felt so good. Like just knowing that this is installed, knowing that the motor is healthier and safer, especially with the new wheels and the new tires, the shift knob, the parent pitch stop mount and brace. Geez, I mean, and the spark plugs, I keep on forgetting about those. Just everything recently that I've done in the past, month or two, has taken this car to another level. And honestly, I am so pleased with this car. It's crazy. So happy with how everything turned out. I know some people are going to watch this video and be like, of course you love it, of course you're praising it, it's your car, why would you bash it or anything like that? But honestly, guys, this is just such a good freaking car. I don't care what you say. I don't care what new technology is out there. This is just a fun car, flat out. And the way I have it set up right now is just absolute perfection. Yeah, guys, that's what it costs for me to get everything installed. if you were to take away the clutch bleed, and if you wanted to just do the AOS as well as the cylinder for cooling mod, you're looking at about $600 or so. So it's going to be around there. Plus the cost of the AOS, which was around $400, plus the cylinder for cooling mod, that was around $80. You're looking at about $1,000, $1,000 to, purchase and have everything installed. Which, yeah, hey, I'd rather spend $1,000 than $10,000 plus to rebuild my motor. Take it for what it's worth. If you think $1,000 is expensive to do preventative modifications on your car to keep the motor happy and healthy, then maybe you shouldn't be modifying your car. That's just, the way I think of it. I'd rather spend that money now making sure that I'm doing everything possible to prevent anything bad from happening, and then just, risking it and, blowing up the motor when I'm doing something that I shouldn't be doing. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed that one. I'm sorry I really wasn't able to get any footage of the install or anything like that. It just really wasn't possible during this time and age. It's a weird time, but I think you guys can understand and relate that, that's just the way things are right now. But again, huge shout out to RT Tuning. I want to thank David, who helped me. I've been emailing him back and forth. We've been talking conversations for the better part of, I want to say a couple of months now, of trying to get my car there and getting a few things done. So huge shout out. They actually gave me a shirt and everything. So huge thank you. The hospitality, just obviously the work, the professionalism, everything about it. So pleased with how everything was at the shop. Like I said, if I have to get anything installed in the future that I don't feel comfortable doing, or I feel like, having a shop do it, 100% go into RT Tuning. So if you are in the PA or in the Northeast area and you're looking for a really good shop, I'll leave the information below for RT Tuning. 100% recommend them. Stay tuned for the next video because this is next. I already talked about it. It's not a surprise. I have a carbon fiber hood coming in. I'll explain, everything about that once it eventually comes in. It's been quite a while. I ordered it, I don't even know. I want to say almost like 2 months ago, a month and a half ago. It's been a while, just with all the shipping delays and all that stuff. So it's taken a while to get here, but I'm being as patient as possible. And hopefully it shows up in good condition. I'm getting a little nervous because the longer it's out there being shipped, the more chances of things going wrong. So hopefully it arrives in good shape and, we're able to install it and do a whole video on that. But yeah, guys, that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it and got a little bit better idea of how much it costs to do the AOS as well as the cooling mod, the cylinder flow cooling mod. Some people have no idea. So I really hope this did help and give you guys a better idea of what it costs to, maintain and keep your EJ25 motor happy and healthy. If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to ask below. I'd be more than happy to answer. But in the meantime, keep it clean, keep it simple, and I'll catch you in the next one.